Hello and welcome back to the channel. We're going to be doing a bit of a follow-up video today in relation to the recent upgrade of this HK45 and my USP Compact. But before we get started on today's video, if you like today's video, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more of the content from the channel, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell notification icon. So we're going to be talking today about this guy here. This is the HK45 that I was upgrading in the last video, and we ran into some problems with this pistol last time out, and I'm just going to talk through a couple of things I did to try and address those issues and actually get things working smoothly again. So basically, last time out when we left, we just finished doing the upgrades to this pistol. We changed the slide, we changed the nozzle, the piston head, the valve and the recoil spring, and we'd done quite a lot of work up here, but we were having some problems. The main problem we were having is essentially the gun was not cycling as it should. And what I've done off camera is sort of go through a few things just to try and figure out what was going on and see if we could figure out a fix. So there's two things that I looked at to try and address this. One of the things was the recoil spring and the other thing was the valve. So I'm going to cover both things, and I'm going to tell you what eventually I sort of finished with as the fix, essentially. So the first thing I looked at was the recoil spring. Now this is the stock spring that comes with the HK45. This was replaced with a Laylax 9-ball recoil spring. Now I'm not exactly certain what percentage strength string that Laylax string is. But one of the things I wanted to just check was to whether or not that spring was strong enough to move the slide and the metal slide and the metal outer barrel. So one of the things I did was essentially pop this stock spring in, tried to cycle the gun, and it didn't have as much strength in it to push that slide around as type. So essentially this was essentially the one of the problems potentially by making it weaker, so I essentially moved on from that. The other thing I tried was, and this is actually the spring unit, but this is actually a 150% high kappa spring. Now weirdly enough, the high kappa spring that you can buy for the 4.3 high kappa is actually just about the same length as this guy. And if I take this off this spring guide, we can see that this is essentially almost the same length. There's just probably one turn shorter. Now I basically tried this. And this is, I know this is a nice strong spring. I mean, I'm pushing it in now, and there's a lot of resistance there in the spring. So I tried one of these. I also tried the high kappa spring from the slightly longer 5.1. Now the thing about the 5.1 is that spring is when placed onto the spring guide is under a lot of tension when you're just putting it on. So as you can see, when I push this in, I'm getting a lot of tension straight off the bat as I put this in, and the spring for the larger version of the high kappa, that spring was really tightly packed. So I knew straight off that spring wasn't going to work. I did try cycling it, and it did sort of work. It kind of fixed the problem a little bit, but it was short stroke. Now it wasn't short stroking a bad way, as in it was doing a full recoil back, but it was coming back quite quickly. So effectively that was essentially almost like a short stroke kit for this gun. And they're sort of the same for this spring as well. So I kind of thought I don't really want this gun to short stroke, so I will go back to the Laylax spring. So I did. So the next thing I looked at was the valve. Now, as you may remember from the last video, I put in this essentially this Poseidon ice pick valve. Now, when you look at this, it is very different from the valve, the stock valve. The stock valve has very distinctive shape. The gaps and holes in it are very different. There's a skirt around the base and where the spring goes. It's a very different shape to this one here. This one's got open sides. It's got the holes there as well, and it is a very different design. And I'm actually pretty sure this is not really designed for the kind of nozzle that we have in this pistol. I think it's more essentially better suited for the nozzle you'll see in, say, a Glock, or say the MMP9 and similar. So I took this valve out, and once I took this valve out, I tried an alternative. The other thing I had handy was this guy here. This is a Firefly HK45 replacement valve. Now this actually comes in two parts, and I'm just going to open this up so I can show you the two parts, and it's kind of fiddly, so bear with me. So as you'll have noticed, the shape is very similar, in fact almost identical to the original Tokyo Marui one, except this only has 3 openings in the faces, and they're much larger than the Tokyo Marui one. The Tokyo Marui has 4. Now the other thing that this has is this sort of spike, and this replicates the spike that's inside there, but it's much bigger. It is a much bigger spike. So you screw this into the top of this, and sorry, it's really fiddly, and it has this spike which kind of, I'm guessing, directs the gas down. It's part of the gas direction, and this one has one too, but this is a very small plastic one that you can barely see through the holes. This one has a much more pronounced one. So I tried both of these out, but I tried the Firefly one first, and this improved the cycling quite a lot. However, it did suffer a little bit with some of the mags that I had. For instance, I've got this mag here is an older mag, and one of the things I found, and the mag that's currently in the pistol is quite a new mag. With this valve in, these older mags kind of weren't cycling as efficiently as they possibly could. They would shoot well for maybe 4 or 5 shots, and as it got colder with the valve, this would start to suffer the same slide problem that we were having, where the slide was not cycling properly. So I kind of took a step back from that, and then started looking at the stock valve. So put the stock valve back in, and effectively that seemed to solve the problems. This stock valve with the little stock spring that you get in here seemed to solve the cycling issues. We were getting enough gas going into the nozzle for it to basically cycle and push the slide back. With the Laylax spring in place, that also made a big difference. One of the things I did do and test is I swapped the valve, I tried the springs, and made sure that everything sort of married up. And and essentially at the end of the day, I found that with this stock valve and the Laylax spring that's currently in here now, the cycling of this pistol was very much more improved. And so what I'm going to do is, we'll just show you this in action. So just see how that is cycling. it locks back, and it's got a really nice kick to it. And it cycles really well, and it can actually go through an entire mag without actually any problems. And that's basically with the stock valve, the Laylax spring. With this guy in, it will go through, but there will be sometimes it will short stroke and so on. And this is with basically the Ultra Air green gas. So we didn't need to use the Garda power up. I found actually with the Garda power up, it wasn't releasing gas because I think it's too high a pressure to actually work at the moment. Essentially it needs to be a bit colder for that to work. But this was cycling really nicely. Now, as a result of this, I was able to do some testing, and this now works quite nicely with 0.32 gram BBs, and that's what I was cycling through here. And I was getting sort of consistently around the 243 FPS mark with those 0.32 gram BBs. And that was basically coming out at about 0.84 joules on that green gas. So around that sort of mark, and it was basically very, very consistent and getting a good round of shots. You know, for instance, I did a 10 round sort of cycle through, and we had the minimum was 238, the max was 248, and strangely enough, that 248 was on the 6th shot, not on the first. The first shot was 246, but it shot around 243 for literally the most of the 10 shots. There was literally 3 shots that were kind of at the extremes. The last shot was at 238 at 10 rounds. The first shot was 246, and then kind of in the middle was 248, and everything else around there was that 243 sort of mark, and it was very, very consistent. So in swapping out the valve for the stock valve, keeping in the Laylax spring, and essentially ditching this Poseidon ice pick valve, we basically have fixed the issues with this gun cycling and essentially made this shoot really nicely. And this is basically now it has a really nice kick to it. It's got a really good feel. It feels nice. It's got a good bit of weight to it. I mean, this has added quite a considerable amount to the weight. It feels nice. It shoots pretty nicely. It's pretty accurate as well with the Crazy Jet barrel in there. It nicely hops a 0.32 gram BB and shoots really, really nicely. And I'm very happy with this gun as it stands at the moment. So that's actually kind of the update for this HK45. I'm pretty much considering this finished off now, and this will basically sort of go into the rotation. One of the things I'm probably going to do is drop an Olight torch on there. So we've got this nice Olight torch, which we're just going to drop on there and have on there as an addition to this. And we're also going to basically have the ability to run a suppressor on here, or a tracer unit, which is going to basically make this interesting. Things like the Spitfire tracer unit, where you can get the nice little flash when it fires. That's basically going to be able to fit on here quite nicely. I've already tested it out and it works really nicely. And also, again, a suppressor. We can put a nice suppressor on there, which reduces the noise a little bit more than the stock suppressor that you get with the HK45 Tactical. So that's kind of that guy sorted. But one of the things I wanted to do as well is also follow up with this guy. So this was the previous project we worked on. This was the USP Compact. And I've had a little bit of time now to play with this gun and shoot it and test it out. And again, like the HK45, I've been really happy with how this has turned out and how it's shooting. I do like this HK45, sorry, the USP Compact, and it's a really nice pistol. I've been really happy with how this has turned out and how this is shooting. It cycles really nicely. If you remember from previous times, it shoots pretty well. I'm just going to give it a little cycle here, and so you just can hear that, and it has a lovely kick on it. It's been shooting really nicely, and again, likewise, it's lifting and shooting a 0.32 gram BB very well. This is again been really consistent. The average for this is 230 FPS on those 3.2 gram BBs. The maximum has been 240 FPS with a low of 224, but that was essentially a one-off. Most of the shots with this have been in that around that 230 mark. It's been a really nice pistol to sort of practice shoot with. The weight is really good, and I think this is actually probably going to become my sort of standard sidearm for a while now. It's been really nice to use. Now, the one thing that I've kind of wanted to do with this is actually drop a torch on. However, I have noticed that, for instance, this Olight torch, which I think doesn't really fit very well on here. It kind of does, but it does overhang the front an awful lot, as you can see. So I am looking for an alternative torch which is going to be a bit more stubby and come a bit closer to the front here. So that's something I'm going to be looking into trying to find. Takes obviously a suppressor and tracer unit. Everything with this has been really nice, and I don't think there's really any upgrades that I really want to do to this going forward. There is a new valve that I could potentially get to using this, but I think after the trouble we've had with these other valves, for instance, you know, with the HK45, for instance, you know, the Firefly, the Ice Pick, I think I'm going to leave this on the stock valve, and I do have another USP Compact that I might sort of play around with and see if I can try that valve out in it and see how it goes. But at the end of the day, both the two pistols that I've been sort of working on recently, so the HK45 and the USP Compact, have both kind of turned into some pretty nice pistols, and I'm pretty happy with how they've turned out. You know, this HK45, now we've got the kind of the little issues ironed out. It feels nice, it shoots really nicely, and it's going to be a good pistol going forward. The USP Compact, I think, has just become my favourite pistol at the moment. I've always been a big fan of the MP9, and that's pretty much been my go-to sidearm for Airsoft for a long time. And I think that has just been replaced by this USP Compact here. You know, the HK45 was the first sidearm I was using in Airsoft for a while, but essentially it kind of fell out of favour. It was a little bit big, and I was having issues with the holster that I was basically using it with. I switched to the MP9 because I kind of found that to be a little bit nicer. But at the end of the day, I am really happy with these two guns, and they've basically turned out to be quite nice pistols to sort of have all done and all upgraded and all kind of set up, and I'm really happy with how they've turned out. And essentially it's on to the next project now. I'm kind of closing the book on the HK45 upgrade project. I've closed the book on the USP Compact upgrade project, and both are essentially now complete and ready to go and will get used as soon as games get up and running. The USP Compact, I think, is going to literally become my go-to sidearm for a good while yet. This will make a good secondary sidearm as well. With the weight, it's got a great feel. That extra recoil from the weight and everything else is just making the gun feel a little bit more lively and fun to fire. So with that, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching the series, both of the USP Compact series and the HK45 series. It's been interesting in the builds and trying new things out and sourcing components and basically coming up with the build. I am working on a Glock 19 build, which will come to the channel at some point. I am not sure when, partly because I am really not sure how I want it to look. There are some bits to that upgrade that I am struggling to find things that I like, and so that's kind of an ongoing thing. The next kind of build project I think you will see is a Tokyo Marui NWS conversion from a NWS CQBR to a 416. I have the conversion kit, I have the NWS. I kind of just really need to start building. So that's one of the next big upgrade project that will hit the channel. There may be another little video soon regarding the SRS once I get that recorded as well, and that is essentially going to be a very quick, simple piston change video. So with that, thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful. I hope you found both of the two USP Compact and HK45 upgrade videos useful and series. If you like them, please hit the like button. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And with that, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time.